Pete, what's the shortest distance between 2 points?
Straight line.
Pete, what if you're flying around the globe? What's the shortest distance?
Curve.
A curved line?
Ooh, jet.
You see a jet?
Way fast.
Oh yeah. But he's above the clouds now.
Ooh.
It's Tuesday, the 12th of September, and Hurricane Irma has already plowed through Florida and is headed up beyond the Appalachian Mountains. My name's Juan Brown, and you're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. I just got back from a 3-day London trip. I'll tell you a little bit about the impact of Hurricane Irma on our trip and our navigation. And then, as promised, we'll talk a bit about the hurricane hunters from the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron in Biloxi, Mississippi. Here's some of the stats on Hurricane Irma to date. So far, the count on fatalities are 29 from the Caribbean and 11 from the United States. Over 8 million people without power, over 14,000 flights canceled because of the hurricane. Flights are expected to resume today in Miami and Fort Lauderdale. If you thought that carpet stunk in Miami Airport, it's really gonna stink now. For all you people out there that are patiently waiting or impatiently waiting, you gotta have patience. I'm telling you, the airline industry on a good day is taxed to the max, and after an event like this, normally after a weather event, the airline industry can recover overnight and get going the next day. After a huge event like this, where 2 or more major hubs have been completely shut down for more than several days, it's going to take more than several days to get the operation back up and running normally. Crews are just scrambling all through the system to put the pieces all back together. So what day is it at school today, Pete?
Orange day.
Orange day? Is that KDM orange you're wearing?
Mm-hmm.
So if you flew a straight heading from LA to London, it would kind of look something like that, taking up that much distance. But in order to fly the shortest distance, you want to fly a great circle route, or as Pete says, a curved route. So you pull that string as tight over a globe, and it's going to create an arc like that and take you all the way up to the north end of Canada, over Hudson Bay, Greenland, and then back down into London. A constantly turning great circle route. And it saves you about that much distance.
Daddy?
Yes, Pete? On our recent 3-day trip to London, normally we take that straight line route to London to take advantage of the tailwind provided by the jet stream, which is normally pretty zonal across the United States. And then we take that great circle route coming back home to avoid the headwind of the jet stream. But because, remember, on our last update, we talked about the jet stream and had that wild bend in it right about here. Well, wild bends in the jet stream tend to provide extreme turbulence. And plus, it's all messed up with the hurricane coming here, Irene, and the remnants of Harvey getting spit out this way. So instead, this time, we took the Great Circle route going to London, which was kind of unusual, and the Great Circle route coming back home, completely avoiding any of the turbulence from the jet stream and from any of the hurricane activity down south. On our return from London back to LA, we were the first flight in 4 days to do that flight on time. For the last 4 days, the flight from LA to London had been canceled because they had no aircraft. Why? Because that aircraft was scheduled normally to come from Miami. So you can see the operation gets global effects when something like a weather event like Hurricane Irma impacts operations. Major flooding in Jacksonville, Florida, and of course the Keys took the brunt of the hit. But if you look at the videos coming out today on the news, it looks to me like building codes have worked. A lot of the houses, most of the houses, even in the heart of the Keys where the eye went through, are still standing. Also regarding the Keys, Highway 1 is still closed. It's going to be closed. You can't get back home. There's no food, water, electricity to get back home anyways. You're going to be camping out for a long time. Highway 1 is closed until engineers can inspect the bridges before they can allow cars to cross the bridges getting back to the Keys. Overall, historically, hurricanes have been known to kill thousands of people, and this is going to go down in history as being the biggest hurricane to hit the United States with the least amount of fatalities. Why? Engineering and technology. Advances in building codes, especially since Hurricane Andrew, and this too will be another watershed event that is going to further refine building codes as engineering is constantly evolving to further strengthen our structures to handle hurricanes and flooding situations like Irma. Also, of course, technology, and especially technology in communication, television, radio, and of course now social media and the internet. And also our heroes at the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, the Hurricane Hunters, for being able to pinpoint this hurricane and help fine-tune that forecast and warn everybody with adequate time to get out of its way. The Hurricane Hunters of the 53rd fly the C-130J model aircraft. I'm particularly fond of the C-130 as I have about 1,000 hours in the C-130Es and H models, the earlier variants of the C-130, flying with the Nevada National Guard out of Reno, Nevada. We flew a lot of different types of missions, particularly specializing in tactical airlift. Tactical airlift means a lot of work. It's a lot of work to stay current doing this. It's low-level formation flying in the weather at night to tactical airdrops, short field landings, and short field takeoffs in unimproved airstrips. Welcome aboard, Admiral. The idea is not to get a smooth landing, it's to land on point. Now, you want to get the props into reverse quickly, but you want to get them out before you start sucking up dirt like that. Along with the hurricane hunting mission, the reservists of the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron maintain all proficiency in tactical airlift operations such as this. That is a lot of work to do. I got to show you this too. Here's a J model, going to give you a very short field demonstration on a paved runway. He can really jump on the brakes. Now with the help of the loadmaster, who can lower the ramp in the back of the aircraft, the loadmaster can guide the pilot, who can back the aircraft up using reverse pitch on the props. Don't hit the brakes or you'll hit the tail. Just bring the props out of beta mode and stop the aircraft. The C-130 is a great, robust airframe for a lot of diverse missions. A great 4-engine bush plane. The E's and H models had the Allison T56 engines, producing almost 4,300 horsepower apiece. The airframes are very strong and robust once you got past the A model. A model, it had some problems, but subsequent models, a very strong, robust airplane, makes it perfect for roles like firefighting and hurricane hunting. One of the unique features of the C-130 is with the Allison turboprop engines, and now the J model has the later model engines, Rolls-Royce engines, producing 4,600 horsepower. The neat thing about these power plants, these turboprop power plants, is you can run these engines. Once you fire them up and get them going, the engines basically run at 100% RPM. One of the big drawbacks of a jet engine is when you need power, it's got a spool up time of a couple of seconds to get that power. To avoid that, with a turboprop aircraft, you're able to compensate with the propeller, the use of a constant speed hydromechanical propeller that allows you to run the engine 100% full time, and then when you demand power, you can just change the pitch of the prop and you got power right now, very much like a reciprocating engine. Instant power right away. Great for low-level tactical operations and hurricane hunting. That being said, the engine power plant and propeller combination, hydromechanical and speeder springs and flyweights, is relatively kind of a fragile and very complicated system. But you got 4 of them. Who cares if you lose one? Even if you lose 2, you can still press on with the mission, or at least get home safely. The most engine shutdowns I've ever worked with on a particular airplane was the C-130. In 1,000 hours, we probably shut down 3 engines for various reasons. Let's go inside and see how the hurricane hunters perform this unique mission. Maybe one day I can get a ride along. I got a press pass. I'm not afraid to use it. Weather reconnaissance continued after World War II in a wide variety of aircraft, including the B-17 bomber, the B-25 bomber, the B-29, the B-50, even the B-47 Stratojet, which proved much too fast of an aircraft for hurricane hunting. It wasn't until the devastating Hurricane Camille in 1969 that congressmen voted to bring the globe-trotting Weather Reconnaissance Squadron home to Biloxi, Mississippi, Keesler Air Force Base, closer to the Gulf Coast. The hurricane hunters began flying specially adapted C-130s back in 1963, denoted the WC-130s, starting with B models, E models, and H models. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration also supports research on hurricanes with their P-3 Orion aircraft and the ER-2 civilianized U-2 aircraft. The minimum crew requirement for a modern-day hurricane hunter mission in the J-model C-130 consists of 5 crew positions. The aircraft commander in the left seat, who is also in charge of the mission, and his trusty co-pilot in the right seat. Now, there's no longer a flight engineer position in the J model C-130, but there's still a navigator position. Now, palletized in the back of the aircraft, that means roll-on stations, little cubicles, so to speak, into the back of the aircraft, is the weather reconnaissance officer and the drop sound operator, or loadmaster. So according to my calculations, that leaves plenty of room for yours truly for a ride-along. The 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron is a reserve squadron, and it's a mixture of full-time and part-time reservists. This is a good deal for the taxpayers. As a reservist, you're getting the most experienced C-130 operators in the Air Force inventory. And the 53rd Squadron is staffed to cover 3 storms simultaneously for 24-hour coverage. These missions can be pretty long, up to 12 hours. There's no air refueling capability on the C-130s. When a storm first forms out in the Atlantic, the 53rd will send out an aircraft to determine its rotation and determine if it's in a counterclockwise rotation or a closed pattern. That low-level mission will be about 500 to 1,500 feet, and they'll get various wind and wave readings from that mission. Once the storm forms, the hurricane hunters will continue to do a series of fix missions where they'll fly basic cardinal headings right through the center of the storm and determining the exact center of the storm. It's the navigator's job to plan the entire mission, and once they begin to enter the storm, it's the navigator's job to help the pilots steer their way through the storm. Once you get into one of these hurricanes, the steady state winds makes for a fairly smooth, surprisingly smooth ride. The whole idea is to fly between the bands of weather and stay in that smooth air. In the bands of weather can be some serious thunderstorms which you're constantly avoiding. Don't bang the camera around, Pete. Once the crews get near the eye of the storm, the mission is handed over to the weather reconnaissance officer in the back of the aircraft, and it's their job to locate the exact middle or the eye of the hurricane by watching very closely the wind readings as they switch from one direction all the way down to 0 knots and then swing the other direction. Right there, the loadmaster will drop a drop sonde right into the eye of the hurricane. This mission will be flown at about 10,000 feet, and that drop sonde will drop down at a rate of 2,500 feet per minute, pinging a bunch of data about every 10 seconds on its way down. The drop sonde is like a weather balloon. Instead of going up, it's going down, and it's reading the temperature, pressure, and wind readings on its way down. That drop sonde dropped in the eye of the hurricane. It gives you the best data for the actual direction of this hurricane. With the data gathered by the drop sondes and the equipment on the aircraft, this is the data that forecasters can use to tighten up the hurricane forecast models up to 20 to 30% and help plan for a better hurricane evacuation. Now, the sportiest part of any hurricane flying mission is penetrating the eye wall. This is where all the thunderstorms are all smashed in together, forming the eye wall of the hurricane before you break out into the relative calm of the eye of the hurricane. It's like flying through a car wash. With dual ignition on and the 5-blade scimitar propellers of the J model cutting through the heavy rain, the C-130 just keeps plowing on. Thanks for your continued support and subscribing to this station. Tomorrow I'll get you a long overdue Oroville update. And this weekend is the Reno National Championship Air Race, an event that I've been going to since 1974, and I'll give you a very personal view, behind the scenes look at the world's fastest motorsport. See you here.